You know, I think that most Americans recognize that this is a profoundly difficult issue for the women and families who make these decisions. They don't make them casually. And I trust women to make these decisions in conjunction with their doctors and their families and their clergy.
Why is it a difficult decision to decide whether or not you should get an abortion? It's because you are choosing whether or not you're going to be a murderer or a mom. The debate is not over whether or not a woman's rights are being violated. It's whether or not it is a human being that is growing inside of that woman. If it is not a human being, then nobody will care what a woman is doing with the things inside of her body. But if it's a human being, it is murder to kill it. And I will show that an unborn baby is a human being. I'm hoping that you are smarter than our former president, Bill Clinton, where he said on CNN recently that he thinks it's okay to experiment on what he calls unfertilized embryos. By definition, an embryo is a fertilized egg. That is, it is a person that is already growing. An embryo is the same thing as a zygote and the same thing as a fertilized egg. Snowflake babies are a perfect example of how a fertilized egg, an embryo, a zygote, is a totally separate person from the mother. A Chinese zygote implanted in a Swedish woman will always be Chinese, not Swedish, because his identity is based on his genetic code, not that of the body in which he resides. A child may die and the mother may live, or the mother may die and the child live, proving they are two separate individuals. No individual living body can become a person unless it is already a person. In the development of a baby, by 8 weeks, the hands and feet are almost perfectly formed. By 9 weeks, a child will bend its fingers around an object placed in the palm. Fingernails are forming, and the child is sucking its thumb. By 10 weeks, the child squints, swallows, and frowns. By 11 weeks, he urinates and makes a variety of facial expressions and even smiles. By 12 weeks, the child kicks. If it's not a child, what is kicking? The child will play with his toes. All of this happens in the first trimester. After that, the baby just grows larger. A body part is defined by the common genetic code it shares with the rest of the body. Every cell of a mother's tonsils, appendix, heart, lungs shares the same genetic code. The unborn child has a genetic code, but it is distinctly different from his mother's. Every cell of his body is uniquely his, each different from every cell of his mother's body. Often his blood type is also different, and half the time his gender is different. That is, a woman will have a male child half the time. If the woman's body is the only one involved in a pregnancy, then consider the body parts she must have. 2 noses, 4 legs, 2 sets of fingerprints, 2 brains, 2 circulatory systems, and 2 skeletal systems. If you are uncertain that these things describe a real human being living in a mother, then before you decide to kill it, err on the side of caution. If you see a hunter in the woods and he sees a bush shake, would you say he should just go ahead and shoot? No, that would be stupid and dangerous. So err on the side of caution. If you don't know if it's a human or not, let the baby live. Let it grow. Refrain from killing it and you'll see it'll grow into a human being. If you think development is the reason why you should be able to still kill the baby, think of a baby kid who's like 3 months old outside of the womb. Think of all of the changes that occur at puberty. I mean, before 13 or 12 years old, was a child not a human being? Should it be okay to kill a 7-year-old? Of course not. That would be ludicrous. When does life begin? At fertilization. At the moment of fertilization, all of the DNA and genes are there to form a boy or a girl. The sex is already determined, as with hair and eye color and so on. And yes, it is human. What does the Constitution say? In Amendment 14, Section 1, it says, all persons are born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state within they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of the life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. So, you have a life, you should not be able to kill it. If the Constitution is right, wrong, or binding, it does not matter, for God's command, you shall not murder, takes precedent. Well, what about rape and incest? Let's see. Is it right to kill a child if their father is a criminal? No, of course not. This is exactly the case with rape and incest. The reason abortion is wrong is because it is the murder of an innocent human being. In the case of rape and incest, the child is still human. Also, the typical case for rape and incest is where an uncle or a stepdad rapes the girl and then takes her to Planned Parenthood to get the abortion. Then Planned Parenthood sends the girl home with her rapist. There is a myth out there that a person born of rape is going to be evil, and this is completely false and ludicrous. What if the baby is deformed or handicapped? They are still human. So-called quality of life gives no man the right to murder. Many times expecting parents are told that their baby will be born with a certain handicap, but the doctors are wrong and the baby is just fine. If your doctor tells you this, then get a second opinion. And even if the baby is born handicapped, then let it live and love it. What about embryonic stem cells? Since life starts at fertilization, this is still murder since the cells are human and all you have to do is provide food and water in the appropriate manner and the child will grow. And viability is not an excuse either, since many full-grown adults at times are not viable, such as when in surgery or when passed out drunk on the street. And a couple other points, I suppose. The Roe in Roe versus Wade, her real name is Norma McCorvey, and she has realized the error of her ways, and she is now fighting on the pro-life side. You can find many of her videos on YouTube also. Many pro-aborts say that we only care about the woman and the child up until the time they deliver the baby, and then after that we don't care. Well, I don't know about every person, but I know the pro-lifers I hang out with, we do care, and we would help take care of a woman and support her after having her baby. Also, there's the claim out there that pro-lifers do not ever adopt any of the babies. This is not true. There are many people who do adopt. A perfect example is Brian Rohrbaugh, the president for American Right to Life, who has adopted children. If you know of an unwanted baby, please email me and I'll try to find a way to help that baby live. If you have had an abortion, please know that you can find forgiveness in Jesus Christ. You have not committed the unpardonable sin, and there are people who can help you. Please contact a crisis pregnancy center. If you need help, please contact a pregnancy center at pregnancycenters.org or call the option line 800-395-HELP. That's 800-395-4357.